So today I'll show you the experiment that we're doing on Wednesday, which is kinetics of solvolysis of 2-chloro-2-methylpropane. One of the things that students frequently get wrong about this experiment, the directions say to measure 1 milliliter of the 2-chloro-2-methylpropane, and they try to measure this in the graduated cylinder. Well, if you measure 1 milliliter in a graduated cylinder, you'll get a lot less than 1 milliliter actually in your container. So one way to measure 1 milliliter with much better accuracy is by using a pipette min. To use the pipette min, this one is an adjustable one and I have it set to 1,000 microliters, so that's 1 milliliter. To use the pipette min, it has air inside, and so you push the button down until it just stops. That expels the air, and then slowly and gently allow the button to come back up. That will draw the liquid into the tip of the pipette min. Then to expel it again, you gently push the button down. Again, that expels the air and expels the liquid into your container. So I'll show you how to use this pipette min to obtain 1 milliliter of 2-chloro-2-methylpropane. That's what I'm doing now. And so, get that in there. I've pushed the button down, draw the button up slowly. Work. Okay, so draw the button up slowly. That will pull the liquid into the tip. Now expel the liquid into my flask with my solvent, 2-chloro-2-methylpropane, and set these aside. Now one thing is very important, to add your phenolphthalein. I'm going to add a few drops of phenolphthalein. And now I have phenolphthalein, 2-chloro-2-methylpropane, and my solvent mixture in my Erlenmeyer flask. The first step in starting this experiment is to add about a milliliter of the sodium hydroxide solution to the flask. So this is what I'll do. Right now I have the burette filled with 0 milliliters, or filled up to the 0 milliliter mark, and I will add about a milliliter of the sodium hydroxide solution to my flask. Now you should see this solution turn bright pink when I add a milliliter, because the reaction hasn't started yet. So I'll add about a milliliter there, and you see the solution turned bright pink. And I'll record now the precise volume that I had added. So you know, when you read a burette, you need to estimate between the marks. That means you get 2 decimal places. So this burette, the volume reading is, it's 1.05, and I'll record that volume in the lab notebook, volume 1.05. What I didn't mention before is that I have, you should have started a timer before you started the experiment. At the same time you add the 2-chloro-2-methylpropane to the solvent, you start the timer. Keep the timer running the whole experiment until you've added your 75% completion volume of the sodium hydroxide to the flask. Okay, so now you see the color went away. Look at the timer, record the time that the color went away. So I'll say a number, maybe that was about 45 seconds, whatever the timer said. Now I'm going to add again about a milliliter of the 2-chloro-2-methylpropane. This volume is 2.12 now milliliters. Swirl it, and then after some time the color will go away. So we'll wait. It might take a little bit longer than the previous time. One thing that you want to do while you're keeping track of this is to keep the Erlenmeyer flask covered, because your breath has carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide will dissolve in it and make the solution more acidic. So we're waiting for this to change color. A tip that you can use for this is to put a sheet of white paper under it so you can see the color changing. Okay, so now see the color changed again. Record the time from your timer. What time did that color change? Okay, keep the timer going though, and now add another milliliter or so of the sodium hydroxide. Okay, so now the burette says 3.10. So this is what my lab notebook looks like so far. I have the volumes, total volume, the volume reading from the burette, and the time at which the solution changed to colorless. Keep the timer going, so the time is the total elapsed time. Okay, and in a few moments that should change to colorless. So you'll continue doing this until you reach the 75% completion mark of the calculation that you did in the pre-lab, which is 19 milliliters. Continue doing this until you reach 19 milliliters of sodium hydroxide solution added. At that time, what you'll do is you will heat the solution. The heating the solution drives the reaction to completion so that the total volume can then be titrated. Okay, so the color went away now. Again, I'm recording the time, total elapsed time, so that is now 3 minutes. Okay, record the time on the timer, total elapsed time, and again add another milliliter. So now the total volume is 4.10 milliliters. Okay, so carry on like this until you reach the 75% completion of the volume.